black helicopter crowd notion of
tyranny's always lurking just around the corner.
Conspiracy theory. They've been crazy, but now they're right.
black helicopter crowd really is upset.
The people are stupid and they're drugged. There'll be a revolution and they're going to lose. There are too many guns and too many people ready to fight them. I am a man of peace, but we have gangsters running this country. Criminals, gangsters.
We're normal. We see total criminal takeover, the death of freedom.
It is the most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history. I'm trying to awaken people, but look at the morons around you. They're zombies.
Welcome to the podcast. You're listening to Black Helicopter News. I'm your host, President Zen-1. Today, my guest, Jay Hernandez, host of Mine's podcast, and we were going to be talking about a mysterious substance known as Black Goo. And this is a mysterious substance. This is amazing news that we're going to be talking about today.
It's some freaky stuff.
Yeah. So, you want to just jump into it now?
Yeah.
Okay, so Black Goo, it originates, there's a massive vein of it. There's a massive stockpile of it it's like oil. It's like an oil.
Right. Like a reserve or, like a natural resource.
It's in Paraguay. There's a massive deposit of Black Goo. And, so I'll tell you that there's this physicist. This guy is really smart. He's got over 5 hours of lectures on Black Goo. I saw a lot of them. He worked with this and he had videos. This is a sentient. All right. So I don't even know where to begin. If you have two samples of Black Goo, one in another box and one in another in the same room, and if they are close enough, they start to become aware of each other and they start to, attract each other, and if something's holding them, or the box will shake and it'll just and it's like violently starts to get to it. If you look at a specimen of Black Goo in a beaker or an Erlenmeyer flask, it looks as if it's breathing. It's not as viscous as a oil because it's almost like a clump. It's like a lump of clay or something.
Okay, right.
It's very interested at times and seems happy when it sees somebody, and when it's angry, it'll jump out at your face. Black Goo, this man who studied it said that when you work close with it, it corrupts the heart. He was a being of light and love, basically. He was like a really positive guy trying to help humanity and study this mysterious substance. When the people gathered around this deposit in Uruguay, they started getting more angry with each other and fighting. And this guy was staying at a hotel there, and there was no rooms, so he had to sleep in his car. And his friend had a room. The next morning, he goes in to take a shower in his friend's room, and the lady at the hotel, she told him, like, she commented, she was talking shit about that.
Right.
And he said he was about to kill her. He was literally very close to killing someone, and he never felt this way before.
The actual scientist.
Yes.
Okay, he's
an ex-physicist.
A positive, like he's trying to enlighten the world.
Yeah, he's got a lot of lectures on this.
Educated himself for the sake of humanity and taking the next leap forward. Essentially, I guess made some discoveries on the Black Goo, figured that this could be a way to turn the wheels of positivity, let's just say. Starts doing his research, starts having prolonged time spent around the stuff. This situation happens, and he essentially felt what it's like to be homicidal.
Yeah, exactly.
So what you're saying is that this stuff, essentially, I mean, you just said it before, it corrupts you, even just sharing space with it. Essentially, even though it can seem, like as you said, happy, excited, and also angry and, violent, I guess, towards you and aggressive. So that's pretty astounding because, I mean, through the depictions that I saw, in movies and stuff, of course, but I mean, we all know that within movies there's always, codes, symbology having to do with, things that are, of an alien nature or conspiratorial or whatever it is. So that's pretty cool because that's kind of, I guess, contrary to what you're led to believe, where it's like if you're infected by it or if it soaks into you or it gets into your, you ingest it in some manner, that will be essentially where it takes over.
Yeah, and this has been found in the rain in Germany. This has been found in the rain recently somewhere around here, also one of the United States.
Right.
And who knows? And this could have a negative effect on humanity if this stuff is raining down on us. This is definitely something that I agree with the depictions of Hollywood, even comic books. Spider-Man had the alien symbiote suit that turned it black. His costume became all black. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
And
Venom, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
And he Peter Parker rejected it because it was draining his life force, and it was making him more aggressive and angry and evil.
It's funny because you could see that, like, you know, he's got like the, you know, Hollywood wise, he's got like the bags under his eyes. He's snapping at his grandmother or whatever it is, you know, hurting criminals, where he essentially would either leave them all wrapped up for the cops to get, but he's like, you know, starts to hurt them, and I think he almost kills one, right?
Correct.
Before he kind of comes to his senses, you know. And now that you're saying that, because I didn't get to that part in my research, but I guess that's where it could essentially kind of take over at a mental level, and maybe allow you to ingest it or cause your own havoc. Because essentially, what I gathered from you know, the things that I watched is that it's basically it wants to take over. It wants to gather as much information and energy from people, and you know, essentially looks for people of power or intelligent life, and it takes over.
Correct. And that brings me to a point I wanted to mention. There has been a lot of property and water rights being bought up in that area where the deposit of Black Goo is.
You're talking about Uruguay or Paraguay, wherever it was, yeah.
Guess what made your family?
Let me take a wild guess. The Bushes.
Absolutely. And also the German chancellor. So it's really interesting why they would be so interested in a random thing like that.
Right.
And well, it goes to show you that this is nothing you'll see in the mainstream media, and this is a real thing. I mean, I think it's worthy of forming hypothesis about, because the Bushes are going there, buying up land rights and trying to get as much as that as possible. And even Germany. What a coincidence. It's raining down on their land, and they acknowledge this. They've been doing it. It's raining down on us. It's alive. I've seen this. This is something like pod people. Because if they can get inside of you and grow, the human body will be nothing more than like a shell to them. They will just, it's insane.
Yeah, it could use the thoughts and essentially the feelings of, you know, megalomania and like power, wanting power and understanding how to gain it through stepping on other people, killing other people that are in your way, understanding the political system, because just as many things have been depicted to take over, you know, as soon as it gets intelligent enough to understand the world around it, it picks up on hysteria and things of that manner, and it begins a secretive sort of pursuit of power. You know, like Manchurian Candidate, for instance, things like that. In the movie Phantoms, it takes over the one body, the astronaut suit through the feet, and soaks, you know, into the whole guy. He spits out a glob of it. It turns into like a salamander type creature. And that was kind of its display of like, these are my powers. Like witness the majesty of, you know, the Black Goo. And then it tells the other astronauts to write the gospel on its existence, but to not leave any witnesses. So it's essentially saying, talk about me, and then I'm going to kill all of you, but it needs to be documented.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah, that just blew my mind.
I'm watching these videos, and it's just like, you know, this is takeover.
The Bible even mentioned this. It talked about like black stones and stuff like that, having like evil powers or something. I don't know. It was somewhere. But this is also the basis you see in necromancy. Black stones, black gems, black robes, cult.
All right, now without getting like, you know, without trying to be crass about it, necromancy, that brings to mind like necrophilia, like, you know, sleeping with like dead bodies or whatever. Now, is that like more of an occult type thing? You know, I understand the comedy aspect of it, and like, oh, you're fucking a dead body, and like, you know, the taboo nature of it, but does that come from an occultish, I guess, belief, or maybe that's like a sort of sacrifice or ritual that do you know anything about that, or is
no, I don't, but I don't think it, I mean, I'll just take a stab at it. I don't think that sleeping with a dead body is any belief system, but that'd be interesting to look into.
Yeah, I think you should, because you know, they like, there's a movie called Necromantic or whatever that John D, of course, you know, showed us like 10 years ago. But it was essentially this guy that would dig up bodies to sleep with, or this lady, she stuck like a iron pipe like where the dick should be, and like, you know, wrote it. You know, that was her thing. She liked dead dudes, you know. But, and that's what I mean. Like, I don't mean to get crass on it, but I'm just curious, and you should probably check it out too, especially if you're, you know, if you're hip to that knowledge, that just to see if that's like a sort of ritual where it's a granting of life to something dead, said to represent some sort of nether power, that waits latently to take over or whatever sort of, it could be, you trace back to like the Black Goo type stuff, and that's like, that's the only reason why I brought it up.
Look into that.
Yeah, you should. So what did you essentially take from your Black Goo rabbit hole? Because I see, I see it, I look at it, researched it for a good half an hour, and I'm just like, man, I could spend all day on this.
Yeah, and I saw there's so many videos, like an hour or 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like all right, maybe later. My take on it is that it is most likely an alien substance that was brought here in a meteorite. It is found in meteorites, Black Goo, so I think that may be what it is. I think that it is alive. It is sentient. It has all knowledge of everything on Earth. It's been here longer probably than humanity and civilization. So I think it is bad, considering it makes people want to kill other people. It makes people angry. It's a creation. It is a substance. Everything in the world that is material has a frequency. So this substance of Black Goo has such a frequency that it is truly evil. And that's just my opinion, my hypothesis, but I think that it is alive. It is alien nature, and it would obviously want to take control of everything on the Earth.
So where would you think that it came from? Because I don't necessarily think that
I think it either came from a meteor, or maybe it was some sort of projectile or missile that was intentionally aimed from an alien. Maybe the aliens that we see on the moon that have bases there, maybe they have something to do with this. Maybe it has to do with the Anunnaki. And you know what? It might have to do with the Anunnaki and Planet X or Nibiru, the race of giants from that planet that came down to Earth. They were the men of renown in the ancient past, the giants like Goliath and all them. And that planet is surrounded by a ring of debris. That's why they call it like the Star of Death. So when it comes into the orbit, it's this huge planet of giants, and it's surrounded by crushed debris of planets and rocks and asteroids and everything, and through years and years, it's just a major destructive force in the galaxy. Maybe this substance could have been something that was like a hybrid creation from like bacteria and amoebas and stuff, from
heat and friction.
Yeah, from all those planets combining. So you've got all of this like DNA and molecularness all like combining over like years of just rotating. So maybe like this is some byproduct of the ring of crushed planets that surrounds Planet X.
Yeah.
When it came by planet Earth, it unleashed possibly destruction of the dinosaurs.
Right. Well, because like when I start to think about like things that big in nature, which I like that hypothesis a lot, I start to like things like Nibiru and even Earth and like stuff like that start to lose their value, and I start to like think about things in a bigger manner where it's like let's forget Nibiru and all that. Let's keep that planet in the diagram, but let's just call it Planet 2, and we're Planet 1. And the debris that's gathered around that planet is from things that may essentially cause a ring around our planet. It's just our own garbage. It's space junk. It's stuff that's coming out of everywhere. And you also have Nibiru that's got the ring that moves, unlike Saturn, which is kind of caught in its own solar system or whatever. And it's just coming around like this big freaking chainsaw, this circular saw just cutting through everything, ripping through everything. We've got, what do you call them? Space stations and stuff getting pelted with debris. Like imagine if that was like a whole solid ring of debris, And then I like your theory on that, because essentially you've got every force, shear, torsion, heat, just everything going on and with the impact of all of this stuff, gathering stuff from everywhere on the planet. So, so what I'm saying is essentially Planet 1, Planet 2, now look at, Planet 3 through however many you can imagine. They're all essentially moving. All of them, sort of come into impact with other solar systems and things like that. So, like, it can be, like you said, gathered from the furthest recesses of the galaxy, I don't know what you call it, the universe, and all being combined. So it's almost like the opposite, the counter effect of life, because I don't believe we're the only ones. I don't believe Nibiru is the only other planet with life on it. This other planet we see, the blue planet or whatever, like, yeah, I'm sure there's life on it. I would actually put money on it. I'd put maybe like $5,000. I could probably you know, for the sake of the planetary, you know, our lives and existence, I'd put $5,000 on it to say that there's life on that planet, something. And it's just the byproduct, you know, this Black Goo is either the byproduct or we're the byproduct of like just all of these cycles continuing and collecting, and, you know, essentially because of the infinite, the maybe infinite nature of our universe, that it could have happened over and over and over, where, you know, because the Black Goo takes over, whatever happens from that, we, you know, essentially any planet with the life building properties can, you know, creates life, and then life comes out of it, and then everything starts, you know, taking from their planets, their resources and everything, and, you know, there's aliens, and like, yeah, maybe even aliens are communicating because of the Black Goo, and they're just like, oh, man, we need to spread this message, but every time I go to that planet, we send people there, they get blown up. So it's like, you know, you got aliens getting blown up, you got aliens hiding in, you know, things like Middle Earth and caverns, and you know what I mean, you got Sasquatch that we can't even find. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what that is? You know, like...
But we'd attack them on sight, so they know they can't even start a conversation with us. So
as silly as you'd want to say that I sound, like, at the same time, you can't, like... I mean, we can't even deal with different color people of human nature.
That's a great point, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, maybe we're all just trying to communicate and, like, you know, and just say, like, yeah, what's up? Like, you know, and, like, meanwhile, majority of people wouldn't believe this, you know, on Earth. So we're not of an enlightened nature. So we're just going to visit other planets and be like, hey, like, look what we can do. We got iPods, and they're just like, yo, Black Goo. And you just kill them on sight because they're saying something in a language we don't understand. You know what I mean? Could, you know, Nibiru could just be like, all right, they're like, however many thousands of years does it take for it to come back around?
I don't know, 10,000, 25,000, I'm not sure. But
maybe they're just on there like, hopefully they'll listen to us this time.
Well,
they get here and there's just interplanetary war.
Well, remember, they're giants, so...
Right, scary.
We're going to shoot the shit out of them if we see them.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people. Responsible for the deaths of almost 100,000 people. You really want to know?
Back inside, Rodney! I am inside.
Several party members have been murdered, Chief Inspector.
Interrupting your regularly scheduled program to bring you this terrifying report.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
New York, very much a city still in chaos. The phones are not working properly. The subway lines are not working properly.
The sky now black with smoke in front of us. Just across the Tigris River here. This is shock and awe, Tom, to the population of Baghdad. Shock and awe, indeed.
The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
Come on.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
I love my dad. I'd kill for him. I'd go to prison for him because I love him so much.
I love Bill Clinton. What does that make Hillary Clinton to the Bush family?
My sister-in-law.
When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy.
What do you think of Edward Snowden?
I think he's a traitor.
Obama is the one that kills the U.S. troops if the Russians bomb any of them. Obama is the one that put them in harm's way. Obama is the one using them as human shields.
It is the most corrupt, degenerate, criminal government in American history.
I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
Welcome to America, ISIS. This is what we do. Woo!
We got people that have taken your asses out in this building right now. We're armed to the teeth, and we're not scared. You got that, you sons of bitches?
In 2012, your agency was saying, quote, the Salafists, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Al-Qaeda in Iraq are the major forces driving the insurgents in Syria. In 2012, the US was helping coordinate arms transfers to those same groups. Why did you not stop that?
Why didn't you come forward before? What were you waiting for?
Well, for you, Inspector. I needed you.
suddenly had this feeling that everything was connected. We're all part of it. Are we ready for it?
Well, that, you know, like stuff like that brings me around to when I looked at a little excerpt of John Dies at the End. You know that movie? I remember from watching the excerpt, I remember starting to watch it, and essentially it started with this guy. He's like an addict or whatever, or something. I might be completely off, but he ends up with these pills. His friend died or something. He takes these black pills. Like, he gets freaked out because he's looking at them, but you don't know if he's high or not or whatever. And the one starts moving, like little active, these little black pills. And so he throws them on the ground. One of them shoots up right into his mouth. He sees the other one come and closes his mouth. It turns into a fly, like a, you know, little fly, lands on his face, and he's like freaking. He's like, "Oh, you're not going to get into my mouth," you know. And the thing soaks into his skin. And then the plot sort of thickens with this father figure that's like, you know, you tell towards the end that it's like an ominous thing, and his dad's like in on the whole thing. And then it leads him to watch TV, and he sees this guy Marconi, who's kind of like a motivational speaker, and he's got this whole religion thing or whatever it is, and you know, and he's just talking about Marconi, which led to, in the same video I was watching, an excerpt where he's talking about how he showed something called the Marconi scientists. Marconi Deaths Conspiracy Theory, which states that between 1982 and 1990, 25 British-based GEC Marconi scientists and engineers who worked on the Stingray project and other United States Defense Initiatives related projects, better known as Star Wars, died under mysterious circumstances.
Whoa.
And another excerpt from that's the sort of same theory was talking about how a guy with the similar name from that movie in real life was part of this whole project or whatever, and how a whole island off the Falklands where they did this sort of research had to be wiped out and taken out by mercenaries and commandos that were hired by who knows to wipe out this entire island and everything on it because of some mysterious black intelligent life goo. It was essentially the mission. So that's, you know, that kind of feeds into the whole thing of like somebody knows about it. Somebody's doing research about it. It's being used to develop, you know, weapons and stuff like that.
Wow.
And which ties into your whole thing with the families, you know, trying to move in and buy the land where essentially I guess they'll find it or they know it's there in abundance.
And yeah, that's very true. And this reminds me of just the evil nature that's corruptive of this substance. People might be able to write that off and be like, you know, it's nothing can do that. Well, just look at money.
Mm-hmm.
Money is very corruptive. There was an experiment where they gave these apes money. Well, not real money, but a form of money.
Right.
And before this, they were living in harmony and peace. And these apes were beings of light and love. They were just living beautifully. And they had the experiment done to them without their permission to introduce currency to their little pack or family, whatever, their little gang, these gang of apes. They started to use it. They started to obsess over it, okay? Then the children were stealing from the parents the money. The other apes are just stealing from other apes. The female apes started to prostitute themselves. So this is an amazing study, and it's real. And when the scientists tried to take the money away, they beat the shit out of them.
Oh, man.
And they continued just to beat up any scientist that tried to take their money. And like this is so so money can corrupt, fake money can corrupt,
yeah,
this black goo can corrupt. It's like things in this world can be evil, but sometimes people are like, oh, evil doesn't exist, we're in a modern world, it's just all whatever. And it's like, you know what, there is evil. This black goo proves it, money proves it, greed proves it.
I like the whole turnaround point on that too, because where we were talking how I thought black goo needed to infiltrate you in order to affect you, but just being around it could have a negative effect on your just well-being and how you look and positivity. And money in the same sense, you can't eat money, but being around it was making those apes lose their shit. But at the same time, you can eat your money if you buy food with it. And if you're buying
But
more
I
food
always-
than someone else, then you have more food and you're happier because you can stuff your face. You know, that's at the point where you're ingesting it. And just like the people in the characters in the movies, they ingest it or it infiltrates them, and then they essentially, quote unquote, shit it out somewhere through their feet or through their eyes, or they vomit it in a lot of the depictions. That's like, you know, overeating, or like even just eating, you have to poop it out or whatever at some point. So it's just, the whole cycle is very mind-blowing.
And if it's coming down in our rainwater, it's coming down into our agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And then that means that's getting into cows, our chickens, our pigs.
Mm-hmm. And that leads us to actual tangible evidence of things, because from what I gathered, my wife's taking like agriculture classes and horticulture and stuff and plant-based sciences. And what I did not realize, and what most of us probably don't realize, is that they're trying to find answers to obesity by studying obesity in plants. Because what we don't understand is that to feed our constant need and never insatiable appetite, we've actually made plants obese and fat and overproduce and unhealthy and genetically modified them.
Wow, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
We've
actually, our society has become so decadent and obese and gluttonous that we've actually corrupted the most pure thing on earth, the plants growing out of the ground. We've corrected them to be lazy and obese. That's sad.
It's sad, you know? So imagine we've got, you know, let's just tie it all in. You got this black goo corrupting us, making us not feel good about each other. We also have material-based lives where we buy things to feel better, even though that never works. Just as long as we have more than that guy, then we feel a little bit better, but it just continues the process of consuming and, seeking out money and wealth and power, to the point of where we turn it onto our food system because we're so everybody needs everything, so now we have to feed everyone everything, so now we have to make the food supply fat and obese. I mean, we already make our pigs, our chickens, our cows obese. You know, we've foie gras is overfed ducks who are force-fed for their oversized livers or whatever it is, to the point of where we have to make our food fat also so that we can eat. You know, it's just so incestuous, because it's just like, you know, fairy tales of the witch fattening up Hansel and Gretel so she can cook them and eat them and feed herself.
And it makes you not want to eat meat anymore.
Yeah, that too. Especially because although they make corn and whatever, you know, they're like, oh, it's to feed, you know, massive amounts to feed the masses, when over, I think it's almost 50% of corn goes into well, first off, it goes into overfeeding the animals. It also goes into the fuel that is used to transport all of the food, because we need so much of it. So it's so incestuous that it's just not even productive anymore. There's no, you can't claim that the bastardization of these systems is for the betterment of society. The bastardization has become the answer to the bastardization of the system. So it's like, you know, it's just feeding the bullshit system now, so it's not really actually doing any good, because the system, if it's corrupt and then you further corrupt it to continue the corruption, that's not an answer.
I couldn't agree more. And I don't know about you folks, but I truly believe what this man is saying.
These are the things we're dealing with, man. This is the struggle, and to the point of where I understand when some people just want to throw their arms up, you know, claiming that progression will solve it all, and let me just live my life and let me do my thing and get money and fucking let me take a selfie. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. It's not the answer, and it's not even going to help. And to further prove the point, it's been proven that it doesn't make you feel better. It gives you a shot of dopamine, that satisfies the addictive part of your brain, and then you go on living, just basically dragging yourself through existence, trying to post as many pictures of you with a smile.
Yeah, we have to heal ourselves as a culture, as humanity. It has to be reinforced and ingrained into our culture, because right now, this is not how. And it's not just, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or a goody two-shoes, and I'm not saying you are, but we need everyone to raise their vibration, you know? They need the incestuous relationship with the meat and the food and the fuel. Then we got to get away from that immediately, okay? We got to get away from that lifestyle. Now I'd say become a vegetarian, but now we have to worry about the black goo getting into our agriculture. So now we have to fix that. We have to have maybe hydroponic food indoors or something with purified water. But we just have to find. That's why people don't talk about this mainstream. That's why they don't want to talk about this in their spare time, or because it's a lot of problems that have to be diagnosed and they have to be treated. And it may take hundreds of years, but we're here at least trying to spark some minds, spark some of this energy, positive consciousness into this world. And this could be a good jumping point for people listening to this episode to look into dozens of other topics that we mentioned. So it's a mass enlightening we need. Okay, like you pointed out so perfectly, I would never expected that the incestuous relationship with the food, with the fuel, and now that black goo is being bought up by the Bushes, I would not be surprised if they're going to somehow market that to poison the world. Yeah, so I guess that wraps up this week's edition of the podcast. I want to thank again my friend Jay Hernandez from Minds Podcast.
Glad to be here.
And check his podcast out, and I believe he's got some new music coming out. Already out?
It's getting there.
Okay, so just check out this guy. Follow him on podbean.com, Minds, I believe that's it.
Yep.
You can check him out on Instagram and Twitter. It's Minds Podcast, or it's Minds _
podcast on the social media, yep.
So check him out on Instagram, Twitter. Follow me on both. I'm President Zen-1 on both. So that being said, I'll see you on the other side. Signing off.